Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a legal filing. Seems ordinary, right? Small town in Tennessee. But what if it's actually, well, something much deeper, like a spiritual statement?
That's what we're diving into today. This idea, this narrative from a third-party collaboration with Disclosure Eyes 25 at the Open Source Public Trust. Quite a title.
It is, and our mission really is to see how this document connects or synthesizes, U.S. law with Kabbalah, with cosmology, even open source software.
It sounds like a stretch, but the connections are fascinating. It suggests a plea for human justice might also be, well, a call for divine accountability.
So where do we start? The legal side?
Yeah, let's start with the concrete. Joshua Haltom, representing himself pro se in a U.S. District Court.
Okay.
He's objecting because his case got dismissed. He calls the dismissal a conspiratorial, preordained outcome.
Strong words, and he's citing the First Amendment.
Right, the right to redress grievances. Standard enough on the surface.
But it's the way he says it, the language.
Exactly. That's where it gets interesting. It goes beyond just legal terms. This conspiratorial, preordained outcome. It doesn't just sound like he thinks the judge was biased.
It sounds bigger, like a hidden agenda.
Precisely. And that phrasing, it almost echoes the Kabbalistic idea of Tzimtzum, the divine self-limitation or concealment.
Wow, okay. So he's drawing a parallel there. Maybe unconsciously, maybe not.
And he makes it more explicit later. He talks about cosmological and judicial consequences.
Meaning legal actions ripple outwards, affecting more than just the case.
That's the implication, like cause and effect in Kabbalah, but playing out in the legal and, well, cosmic sphere. He even brings in Deuteronomy, the principle of three witnesses, to back up his evidence, demanding a higher standard.
A higher standard of proof, almost like a spiritual validation.
You can see it that way.
Yeah.
And his main complaint boils down to systemic opacity.
Lack of transparency.
Yes. And that connects directly to another Kabbalistic idea, the concealment of the Creator's face. It's like he sees the flaws in the legal system as mirroring a cosmic hiddenness.
Okay, so that naturally leads us to the Zohar, to Kabbalah itself. What's the core idea there we need to grasp?
Well, the Zohar isn't really history. Think of it more like an allegorical blueprint for spiritual reality.
A blueprint for what?
For transforming the soul. Its goal is, ultimately, infinite delight for the soul, achieved by changing its nature from egoistic to altruistic.
Yeah.
And this happens through a process called tikkun.
Tikkun. Correction.
Correction, yeah. It happens via the path of Torah and also through something called man. It stands for a request for spiritual elevation. Basically, human effort reaching upwards. The Zohar lays out this path in 125 spiritual degrees, levels of ascent from our world to the Creator.
125 steps. That's specific.
Very. And it uses its own kind of source code concepts like Sephirot, divine attributes, and Partsufim, spiritual configurations. It's complex, but the idea is that human desire, especially from the righteous, triggers a divine response.
Moving from continent to Gadlid. Smallness to greatness.
Exactly. Moving from a state of constriction to expansion. And things like judgment and mercy, that duality, aren't problems. They're necessary parts of this correction process.
This is deep stuff. How does open source fit into this picture? It seems like a leap.
It does, but it provides a surprisingly useful framework. Think about open source. Transparency, public review, community development.
Right. Anyone can see the code, suggest improvements.
Precisely. Now map that onto the Kabbalistic model, the Creator's plan. That's the code base.
Okay.
Humanity, or the righteous, doing the work of tikkun. They're like the developers.
Submitting patches.
Exactly. Tikkun, the correction process, is like submitting patches to fix bugs or improve the system. And the idea of a public trust, resources held for public benefit, needing transparency that mirrors the divine system holding fulfillment for all souls.
So this reframes suffering then. It's not a bug, but a feature. Or maybe an initial bug that needs patching.
You could say that. It's not a flaw in the design, but part of the process requiring our collective tikkun, our collaborative debugging, if you will.
Which makes Haltom's legal filing, what? A bug report, a patch request.
Kind of, yeah. A patch aimed at fixing that systemic opacity he identified, but viewed within this larger cosmic context.
So it elevates his personal legal fight.
Absolutely. It becomes less about just his case and more like a selfless act, what Kabbalah calls lishma, for the sake of heaven, for a higher purpose. And it's also a man, that plea for spiritual ascent, for correction.
And that phrase he used, Disclosure Eyes 25, that sounds very specific.
It really does. Given the context we've built, it seems to point directly to those 125 spiritual degrees from the Zohar.
The 25 part of the 125?
It seems plausible, representing the ultimate disclosure, the revelation of all those levels, the end of correction. So his legal action, his tikkun, becomes this symbolic request for that ultimate spiritual transparency.
The righteous acting as partners, applying patches to the cosmic code.
That's the picture this synthesis paints.
So wrapping this up, what's the takeaway for you listening? It seems a single legal complaint down in Tennessee can be read as, well, a spiritual pull request.
Yeah, a request to the cosmic code base, seeking a patch for systemic opacity.
Yeah.
Whether that's in the legal system or perhaps a reflection of something deeper.
It changes how you might see problems, right? Injustice, suffering, maybe not just random flaws, but part of a collaborative project. An open source effort for humanity to debug and perfect reality together.
It's a profound reframing.
So the question it leaves us with, perhaps for you to think about, is where do you see systemic opacity, in your own life or in the world? And what kind of spiritual pull request, what kind of tikkun might be needed there for correction, for disclosure?